as a woman, I watched this video, I shed tears because it is only a wicked person that will see someone in that condition and will not help that person, and you'll be so concerned about the paperworks. I'm not too surprised because this is exactly what these people do whenever they see people that look like me. Now, let it make sense to me that this lady is registered in your hospital. Let it also make sense to me that you guys know the date of her delivery. Let it make sense to me the third time that she came already, like every single thing. If you're watching that video, you know that this woman is literally in pains. But it is not this white Karen's business. The only thing she's concerned about is the paperwork. I saw this video on my FYP and I was like, no, this video is about to be a long one. So grab a popcorn and cook. Because let's watch. A lot of people reacted to this video, and I want you guys to honestly watch their reaction. If what they're saying is wrong or right, if what this nurse did, in fact, as at this point, I believe that she is losing her license already. And that is the sweetest karma of all time. It didn't only end there. Even the hospitals, they have literally closed down their Google rating, and they have disabled some of their comment section. Even in this video that you're about to watch, you're going to see where some folks took it upon themselves to call them, and you're going to be listening to their response. If you don't need us as Black people in your environment or in your establishment or in your hospitals, let us know on time. With that being said, let's dive right into this video. My name is Sonia. If this is the first time you're tuning in, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Credit belongs to original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. Guys, let's watch.
When's your due date? Right now. Is your due date September 11th? What? How many times have you been pregnant? 3. This is your third pregnancy? Yes. You have 2 babies
It's
at
in
home?
my ass.
You have 2 babies at home? Who's your doctor?
Lang is her doctor. Y'all treat all your patients like this or just the Black ones?
It was the first patient for you. Last name is Jones. She's G3P2. I'm not sure when her due date is.
Her due date
I
is
just
the
said it
10th.
was the 10th. I think her due date's the 10th.
She got 3 pregnancies, 2 babies at home. I bet y'all listen next time. When you found out you was delivering at this hospital, your ass should have changed doctors. Everybody say how they treat people here. Hello, TikTok family. This is a follow-up on the video that I posted earlier. So, I was at work. I had no idea of the activity that was going on. My daughter's texting me, calling me. I didn't know what was going on. So finally I get home, they tell me about the video, and a lot of you was asking about a follow-up and to explain the situation. So this is the situation. My daughter went into active labor at home. We took her to the hospital. She called ahead of time, so we know they are expecting us. However, we get there to the emergency room. We watching nurses, putting gloves on, running to the door. They get outside of the door, and I drive a black SUV, and they look at my vehicle, and one of the nurses come up to the window, and she goes, I'm sorry, this is for ambulance only. I said, well, my daughter is in active labor. And she was like, okay. She said, but you're going to have to go to the front. I'm like, I have to drive to the front. And they said, yeah, you have to drive to the front. Okay, another redhead. And so I'm like, so she's in the, you hear, and it was like, yeah, she started bagging up, hit the button, went back inside the building. So I go around to the front. I get out of the car. Again, this girl is in more pain now than she was when we first left the house. And she started saying, I feel pressure, I feel pressure. I said, take deep breaths. I ran in. I said, hey, my daughter's in the car. I went to emergency. They told me I had to come to the front. So the lady was like, what's your daughter's name? Told her Kiara Jones. She gets out some paperwork, started typing in the name. I was like, ma'am, do you have a wheelchair or anything? She's in the car. I need to get her in. Oh, if you check on the other side of those doors where the vending machine's at, there should be a wheelchair out there. There's no wheelchair out there. So she gets up, she walks in the back, and she come to the door with a wheelchair. She said, here you go, ma'am. I said, excuse me, you're not going to come with me? And she was like, no. Oh, okay. So, a police officer was in the lobby. He gets up. He grabbed a wheelchair. He goes out the door with me. He said, come on, I got you. Went out there. She is on hands and knees in the back of the vehicle. And I'm like, oh, shit, what is going on? And then she goes, it's in my ass. And I was like, what? And the guy was like, and she was like, he said, okay, she was like, give me a minute. She could not move. So when that contraction eased, we put her in a wheelchair. He said, you can go park your car, because they, again, had, people out there. So I went park my car. It wasn't even 30 seconds. I run back in the building. She's just there with a stack of papers in her hand, screaming that this baby is coming. This baby is coming. I look at the registers behind the window, and they looking at me, and they was like, well, we can't do anything until she signed the papers. Are you fucking kidding me? So I grabbed the papers, and of course, it's all ER bullshit that they have. And I was like, you want her to sign this, and she's in active labor. And they was like, okay. I was like, ma'am, she was supposed to be induced earlier today at 8 o'clock. And they called and told her that they will call her because they didn't have beds. And they will let her know. And no one ever called back. They called back every hour on an hour. And they was like, no, we'll call you back. And then finally, her water break, she called them. They tell her to come in. So why is she signing these papers? We need her in labor and delivery. And it was like, ma'am, I'm sorry. So the charge nurse comes out. And she saw the paper signed. What fucking, are you serious right now? And she closes the door. And then the lady behind the window, at this point, my daughter, scribbled her name on all the papers. We gave it to her. She says, thank you. She walked it around to the charge nurse. She opened up the door. My daughter is literally like having a contraction. And she's just standing there in the door. So we push her into the door. I said, can we get her into labor and delivery? She said, no, we have to fill out all this paperwork. I have to do the paperwork and get her a band before we can send her upstairs. So that was the video that you guys saw that I initially posted. So the next video that has no picture on it was when I was pushing her in and we was at the window, because they asked me to move her from the window so they can take care of the guests or, patients that was coming in and out. Do not go to this hospital. This hospital is ghetto as hell. They do not care about black women or their babies. This is crazy. I read about stuff like this all the time, but to see this firsthand, This lady did not care. None of them. It wasn't until we got into labor and delivery where we saw an ounce of care or sympathy for her. Before then, they can care less. She did not care if she gave birth in that wheelchair. That was not her problem or her concern.
The thing that's going to be really uncomfortable is that that nurse did that on purpose. That nurse was behaving that way to that Black woman on purpose. That woman enjoyed the opportunity to display her racism, to display power and control over. That woman, that triage nurse from Dallas Regional Medical Center in the emergency department room, did that to that woman on purpose because she is racist. It was a conscious choice to deny care, compassion, humility, grace, kindness. That was intentional. When you watch the video and you hear her tone, you'll be like, that was 100% intentional. We are dangerous to Black women and Black families because we carry with us so much internalized allegiance to our whiteness and patriarchy that we will exact harm, actual physical harm on somebody because it makes us feel like we are closer to a food chain and a system of power that was never made for us. We will punch down. We will kick down. We don't challenge the authority at the top. We're not challenging patriarchy. We are exacting revenge and power over someone that we think, oh, finally somebody that has less than us. And you wonder why Black women say we are the men of women and they pick a bear over us, or being trapped in a boardroom with a white man. That nurse's disdain and coldness mirrored the pastor that we saw a week ago, right? The one who said, no, I don't even have a parking spot for you. And then went on to church to talk about the grace of God's love. We have a real problem amongst us, white women. And it is not going to get better unless we, as white women, start unpacking our internalized biases and also holding other white women accountable for their behavior and the environments that they create. I hope that that woman who was subjected to that kind of treatment both sues the hospital and wins, but also has some support and therapy to help her recover from an awful experience while she was in labor, which should have been a beautiful, supportive, and positive experience.
We need to talk about that Dallas mother, because what happened to her in that hospital, it isn't just bad care, it isn't understaffing, it isn't a misunderstanding. It's medical racism caught on camera, and it's one of the most uncomfortable videos I've ever watched. This woman arrives to Dallas Regional Medical Center already in active labor, not early contractions, not discomfort. The baby was born 12 minutes later. And despite all of that, she's left sitting in a wheelchair, visibly in agony, screaming through transitions, while the nurse next to her, a white nurse, is staring at the computer asking her routine maternity questions, and she doesn't look at her once, not a single glance. And when I say not a single glance, I mean not one, not even to assess her breathing, her contractions, whether the baby was crowning or not, nothing. She stares at the screen, she types, she asks questions, while the woman next to her is literally giving birth. And the callousness of that, the complete lack of urgency, that's not a staffing issue, that's a biased issue. Because this is exactly how Black women end up dying in childbirth. In the US, Black mothers are 3 to 4 more times likely to die during childbirth than white women are. And in the UK, that number is 4 times higher. And the reasons are identical. They're not listened to, they're not believed, and their pain is constantly dismissed. Because what we saw in that video is the pattern that gets talked about in research, reports and statistics, but barely gets captured in real time. A Black woman in obvious distress, and the medical professional responsible for her safety doesn't even turn her head. And the most disturbing part, if anything had gone wrong, if that baby had gone into distress, if that mother had collapsed, if either one of them had died, we already know where the blame would have fallen. Not on the system, not on the bias, but on the mother who was begging for help while being ignored.
Now, by no means am I a labor and delivery nurse, but I do know a thing or two. And I know that from the time a pregnant woman who is in active labor walks into the hospital, the clock is immediately ticking. There should be no hesitation with her situation. This lady needs to possibly be triaged if it's enough time, but things need to be set into motion for her to get that baby out safely, right? I recently watched a video of a nurse, LaChrista Vaughn, who works at Dallas Regional Hospital in Mesquite, Texas, sit and have her back turned literally to a patient who was in active labor. Like, she may have only looked at this lady one time, like just to turn around to look at her. She was asking her a bunch of questions, which at the time did not need to be asked. After she had already answered them once, she asked them again. She got on the phone. She completely dismissed this woman's pain, had no compassion, no empathy, and most of all, no sense of urgency for a woman who was in active labor. Not only did she put this woman in danger, but she also put the baby in danger as well. I watched this lady cry and scream and grunt and get on her knees in a wheelchair because she was in active labor. She made her sit in the waiting room for 30 minutes, and then the lady delivered 12 minutes after that, which tells you how detrimental the situation was. Like, this lady was fully clothed. I'm pretty sure the baby's head probably was peeking. Who knows what was going on? But her nurse acted very dismissively and had no kind of compassion for her or that child. That is a deadly scenario. That whole situation could have went totally left, all because this nurse did not properly do her job. She made this young lady wait in the waiting room for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. And then the baby was delivered 12 minutes after that. That just goes to show you how fast the labor was progressing. This young lady should have been triaged immediately because precipitous labor can go from 0 to delivery in almost no time. Especially when you've already had multiple children. If you've had multiple children, then you know that your deliveries most of the time go faster than the previous one, right? I've had multiple children, and that's how it was for me. This is what happens when healthcare workers forget that patients aren't just numbers or tasks, that they are actual human beings that are sometimes in the most vulnerable states of their lives. You can't teach compassion, but you can hold nurses accountable for their judgment. And dismissing a woman who is obviously in active labor is poor judgment. It's very dangerous. It's how babies are born in waiting rooms, in cars, and how women end up hemorrhaging because no one is noticing. For every nurse watching this video, treat laboring women like they matter, because they do. Stop acting like their pain doesn't matter. Stop being nonchalant because you're tired or overwhelmed or desensitized. And for every mother-to-be, speak up for yourself. Demand an assessment. Don't let anyone dismiss your pain or your urgency, because an incident like this could be fatal. I'll talk to you later, my loves. Bye.
The mom who was in labor in the waiting room couldn't go to the back because they had to register her. It took 30 minutes, right? The neglect started from when her and her mom pulled up to the hospital, okay? They pulled up to the emergency department area. They seen the nurses coming out, putting their gloves on as if, they was going to come and get her, rush her to the back. But instead, they said, ma'am, you cannot park here. It's ambulance only, okay? So that took a decent amount of time to go around. They told her she had to go to the other side of the hospital. And once she got to that side of the hospital, she tried to get a wheelchair for her daughter because her daughter is in labor. She kept saying, my ass hurt, okay? So that lets you know the pain right there. Us moms know, ass hurt, it's time, right? So mom had to go find a wheelchair. The police officer, the security guard, was giving more help than the actual nurse was. And then when they get to the part where they have to actually go in, that's when the nurse hit her with a whole bunch of papers to sign. Mind you, she had a scheduled inducement that day, okay? They kept reaching out to the hospital, and the hospital kept changing the schedule times because the beds were not ready. If you delivered a baby, these hospitals love to induce. They love to induce you before you are actually ready. They'll tell you to come in on this day. They'll give you a time to come in, and sometimes they'll call and say, hey, your bed is not ready. Never called the mom to come in. It so happened mom went into active labor. Her and the mom pulled up to the hospital, and all of that mess went on, right? But y'all was already expecting her. So we gonna call you out right there. Like, first of all, why you ain't had no beds ready by then? Why wasn't your bed ready? It just sounds like a whole bunch of unorganization going on. But what they did, yes, it actually caused for a lawsuit because that baby could have got injured. Okay. When you are in labor, okay, they put monitors on you instantly. They put the stick in your skin. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I can't get the words out. They stick the needle in your hand, okay, because they have to measure mom blood pressure and everything. And they also put the Doppler on the mom. And the nurse will come in every 30 minutes to make sure baby heart rate is okay and make sure mom is okay. How long is mom contracting? How often is she contracting? All of those factors come into play, okay, because you want to monitor and make sure that baby is getting enough oxygen, okay, because a lack of oxygen can lead to brain injury. All right. So, yes, that hospital calls for a lawsuit. I'm going to make a part 2 because it's too long.
I just saw the disgusting video of that nurse ignoring that Black mother in labor who had her baby shortly thereafter the video was taken. And a couple of things. Number one, if you were confused as to why the Black maternal mortality rate is higher than that of white women, just watch that video. That is exactly why. Much of the issue has to do with the bias on the part of staff, and bias comes in a variety of forms. It comes in the form of the lack of urgency that you see in that video that would not be present if that parent was not a Black woman. The number one hospital in my state and also in my city of Los Angeles was recently a part of an investigation for similar issues against women of color. And usually when I'm having conversations about this, like locally, people are very shocked that like our number one hospital would be the subject of a federal investigation. But that video explains why. If you are an OB or a nurse, I would encourage you to look at that video and to look into what bias trainings your hospital or maybe you can get for yourselves. And on a separate note, in terms of staff, I last year was part of a study studying racial bias that essentially was looking at racial bias and how not only parents experience racial bias, but also doulas experience racial bias in hospitals. I will put the link to the study in the caption for you all to read that.
So I'm sure we've all seen the video at this point of the mom who comes into the labor and delivery unit in Dallas and is obviously actively in labor, and the triage nurse just sits there, you know, asking all the basic questions. Baby's not on the monitor, mom's not really being assessed, all the things. So frustrating to see as someone who both has had a traumatic labor experience, but also as someone who works in healthcare, still delivers babies. Super frustrating. This is one of the reasons why there's just so much distrust in the medical profession. And that's the reason why so many of us come on here and we are promising, yes, we are good people. We are really working in your best interest. And then one or two people in our healthcare system in the whole US will just tear down all that trust in a second. So the things that concern me, one, not in the lobby. Okay, you can get into a triage room, you can get into a regular room, you can ask the questions anywhere. It does not have to be in front of everyone in a wheelchair asking basic questions. She's clearly pregnant, she's clearly in pain, something needs to be done. The second thing is, yes, labor and delivery can be loud and it can be emotionally charged. And if that woman were in a labor room and had no epidural and that was the labor she wanted and she was screaming like that, girl, good on you. Keep being strong. However, that clearly is not the experience that we were wanting. And you don't know anything about the status of that baby. Why is she in so much pain? Is something happening? Is that baby coming down in the wrong presentation? I can tell you from personal experience, the last time I screamed that phrase, my baby was coming down frank breech. Is there something going on? What's the baby's heart rate? We don't have anything that's assessing anything that's going on except for what you can see. And to not be even mildly concerned is a problem. The thing about obstetrics is that it can be a beautiful and it can be a very natural experience, and people can have so many different kinds of experiences, but you always have to have just a little bit of this worry. There has to be something there. You have to be ready at any moment for almost anything to go wrong, because even in the most normal of pregnancies, I've had things happen that completely threw me out of left field. Had no idea. Typically have to debrief with the team and the patient. That's super important. You have to debrief with your patient after something like this happens. But all this to say that I'm so sorry that this happened to this family. I am now so sorry that their trust in our healthcare system has been tarnished, if not broken. And that should not be a normal labor and delivery experience. I really hope that that trust can be rebuilt and that someone is educated on not being so nonchalant in a labor and delivery triage area. So I'm really passionate about this. I'm new to this. I really don't know what I'm doing, but I was a teen mom who had a pretty rough birth experience in general, felt like I was not taken seriously, and ultimately that was the reason that I went in, not only into medicine, but I went into family medicine, and I do family medicine with obstetrics. If you have any interest in hearing more about my background, please follow me. I'm trying to figure out if this is a platform that I'm even going to be successful on, and I'd be happy to share that story.
Shame on you. Shame on you to the nurse that sat at her computer and felt that typing in patient information was more important than giving the pregnant lady, who was literally minutes away from having her baby, the necessary medical attention that she needed, desperately needed. If you have seen that video and it doesn't make your blood boil, you too are part of the problem. We as healthcare providers took an oath to do no harm. In my eyes, that is doing harm to that patient who was seated in a wheelchair, growling for help. The nurse sat at the computer in her stoic, mechanical voice, punching away at the keyboard, asking how many children she's had. Shame on you. If you come across this kind of behavior, call it out. What if that's your sister or your daughter or your family member? Shame on you.
Hi, did you all see the video of that young black woman literally giving birth in a wheelchair inside of a hospital because the nurse next to her just didn't care? This woman is screaming in pain, clearly in distress, and this nurse is asking her benign questions that could clearly be answered bedside or, I don't know, at a different time. This nurse showed zero care, zero aptitude for nurture, and she should be held accountable. This is what systemic racism looks like, because this is putting a black mother in danger because someone decided they couldn't be bothered. They're not in a hurry today. I'm sorry, but if you cannot recognize pain in a human being because she's black, you have no business being in healthcare. No business being anywhere near a labor and delivery floor. You should be reassigned to shelving books in alphabetical order in the hospital library, bitch. Black moms deserve better. Black families deserve better. Black pain is real. And if that sentence bothers you or surprises you, you have no business in healthcare.
As a black person, it is very important to advocate for yourself when you're in the hospital. There are some doctors out there who don't think that your pain is valid. There are some healthcare professionals out there who will not take your concerns seriously. Of course, there are some amazing healthcare professionals out there, but a lot of people do have biases. Just because they're in healthcare doesn't mean they don't have those biases. So please, advocate for yourself when you're in the hospital or in any medical setting. Make sure you and your loved ones are getting the care that you need. If you have to call someone to make sure you feel like you're being heard, please do that. If you need to ring your mum at her doctor's appointment to make sure she is being heard and advocated for, please do that. Because clearly there are a lot of people out there who don't believe your pain and they don't take your concerns seriously. And thankfully, we now have cameras and TikTok to show the world exactly what can go on when people's biases get too far and too out of hand. So let this be a word of warning to make sure you are advocating for yourself and your family members every single time that you seek medical care.
I'm sorry to keep holding. How can I help you?
Why taking black patients if you want to treat them right?
I'm sorry, say that again, ma'am?
Why taking black patients if you want to treat them right?
Ma'am, we do know about that. We're marking down the complaints about it. I can't really go into it, honestly, but I will let them know that you called and are complaining about it, and we've had many calls, trust me. Okay?
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Did y'all see that video of that black lady in Mesquite? She's literally in the hospital in labor, and the nurses aren't taking her back, just making her fill out paperwork and this and that. Her mom's recording the video. She's saying she can feel the baby in her ass. She's clearly delivering a fucking baby. And they're just there pretending like it's not even happening. Literally, the mom said that nurses wouldn't even come out to the car to help her get her daughter inside, who was on all fours in the car in active labor. And finally, a cop, security guy or something, comes out to help get her in the hospital. And when they get her in, they hand her a stack of paperwork, a clipboard to fill out all of this shit before they'll even take her back. And like, even whenever the mom handed over the clipboard with all this stuff done, there was no kind of urgency. I was reading the comments on these videos and I did not realize that African American women are twice as likely to die during labor than a white woman. That's a problem. That's a real problem. I'm going to tag the videos below and I'll put like a screenshot in the comments or something of what the cover of the videos look like, but you've got to watch both videos, like from the daughter sitting there screaming and then it's a reply video of the mom telling exactly what happens. Like, holy cow. I really hope that a really good lawyer takes on this case and gets them the absolute most money they can get. That is unbelievable.
You guys, Shop String are going to want to hear this. I know when I talk about stories about individuals who've experienced so much trauma, I never ever share the face or the names of the person who did the trauma to them. But in this instance, I have to, just because it is on us to make sure accountability is done. The person behind me is a so-called nurse from Dallas Regional Medical Center in Mesquite, Texas. Her name is LaChrista Vaughn, and a viral video on TikTok that was posted. It is an extremely hard video to watch. If you do research it, I am warning you to please watch with caution. It is extremely graphic and it is deeply triggering. It's triggering because there is a black woman who was obviously in labor screaming in pain. And this person over here, this nurse, LaChrista Vaughn, was sitting there without a care in the world, asking her questions that didn't have anything to do with what was going on. If you saw that woman going into labor, you obviously should be knowing common sense to take action first. But she was asking her questions like, how many children do you have at home? How many times have you been pregnant? And of course, the individual who was in labor said she's been pregnant 3 times. And again, she goes, oh, okay, so you've been pregnant 3 times. You have 2 children at home. And she was making phone calls and she goes, I don't know when her due date is. And then they told her the due date. And the woman in labor said, I'm having the baby now, screaming things that was indicating a labor right now. She had the baby 12 minutes after this entire interaction. But it wasn't just her that played a part in this. Here's what we know. According to People, it says that the family has a series of videos claiming that the staff kept her there in the waiting room for more than 30 minutes and the baby was born 12 minutes after she was finally moved. A spokesperson for the Dallas Regional Medical Center said in a statement that the hospital is reviewing the situation to understand what occurred. It's crystal clear what occurred. This nurse was stereotyping a Black woman. She was stereotyping her patient and didn't want to give her the care that she needed or deserved. And this instance right here tells us that the statistics are true. Black women in America have a higher mortality rate because of situations like this. They aren't given the care that they need or deserve. After this happened, the baby was born 12 minutes after. It makes me wonder how many times this nurse has abandoned her patients simply because they didn't look like her. This is an abject failure, and she needs to not step foot in a hospital ever again. She needs to have her license revoked, and she needs to be fired immediately. I was doing some research, and it appears, as expected, she stereotyped other patients before. She stereotyped a trans patient that went in after having a series of, I believe, seizures, and she didn't care. No empathy. This is vile, sickening, and disgusting. Let me know your thoughts down below. Share it far and wide and follow along for more.
The video I just watched is absolutely horrifying. There is footage circulating on social media right now of a young Black pregnant mother in active labor arriving to an emergency department, and instead of receiving urgent, compassionate care, the triage nurse appears to be more focused on completing paperwork than focusing on the human life right in front of her. It appears she doesn't visibly check her, no fetal monitoring, no stabilization, instead forms in a mother that is in active labor. This is a medical emergency, and in that moment, she appears to be completely ignored. No empathy, no humanity, just cold, and that is completely unacceptable. My heart goes out to that mother. I hope with all my being that she and her baby are okay, because we as healthcare workers, we should be the ones that embody light, hope, compassion, humanity, but in this case, all of that was missing. And here's the hard truth. This is not an isolated incident. Black women in the United States are 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women. 3 times. If you saw that video, and if what you witnessed is an obvious display of discrimination, and you felt your blood boil, you are not alone, because I am fired up too. Because this is entirely preventable. And as caregivers and as healers, we must demand better from ourselves and from our system. And to that young mother, I truly hope you're okay. I hope someone stepped in. I hope you were heard, and I hope you were seen. To my fellow healthcare workers, we need to do better. We must show up. We must listen. We must take action, because every mother deserves dignity. Every baby deserves life, and every patient deserves humanity.
Tell me why I saw a Black mother about to give birth not in the delivery room, but in the damn waiting area, waiting for a nurse to sort through the damn documents. This Black mother came in clearly in active labor, like full contractions, barely standing, and instead of rushing her to a delivery room, the nurses told her to sit in the waiting area. The waiting area. I couldn't believe it. This woman was crying out, gripping the chair, literally screaming in pain, and the nurses were just ignoring her, acting like her suffering was background noise. They were chatting, sorting paperwork, moving at the slowest pace imaginable, while this poor woman was basically about to give birth right there on the floor. She sat there for over 30 minutes. 30 minutes. And then, get this, they finally take her back, and her baby is born 12 minutes later. And I'm telling you right now, if she hadn't been a Black woman, they would have rushed her straight back without a second thought. What I saw was neglect. It was disrespect. It was absolutely racist. And it made my stomach drop.
I want to give an update to this story out of Texas of the woman who was giving birth and seemingly being ignored by the nurse there entering the information. And we've got some more video, actually. I'll show you that in a second. According to the mother of the woman, she was supposed to be induced that day. And so they called that morning and they didn't have a bed. So they told her, hey, we'll call you when we have a bed. Well, apparently that never happened. And then her water broke. And so they call and say, hey, my water broke. We need to get in there now. So they head up to the hospital. When they arrive at the hospital, they arrive at the ER section of the hospital, apparently. And the nurses there said, no, you can't come here. This is only for ambulances. So they made her go around the front. The mother comes in to say, hey, my daughter's in labor. We need to get her in now. She's in the car. And apparently nobody helped her. The mother alleges that she was told to go get her own wheelchair. Yes. And the only person to help them was the officer who was in the ER. The only person to go out and get the woman out of the car was the officer. Now, keep in mind, they were expecting this woman. She was scheduled to be induced. So they should have already had all this information. They should have already known all that. It doesn't matter, because a lot of you are messaging me saying this nurse was only doing her job. I do not care. At some point, we got to have some sort of common sense. And speaking of that nurse, there's another video of a separate situation. Watch her attitude in this video.
Going back in the building, man. We got it.
I'm going to wait right here with my boyfriend.
All right.
You can go ahead and turn your phone off too, please.
I can record. I'm in a public place.
That's fine. That's fine. All right.
Yeah, look at the treatment.
This is a failure on all levels. I get the nurse was probably doing her job. The attitude was poor. I understand, y'all. I get what you're trying to say. The system's broken. It's not necessarily her. I don't care. She is a nurse. She is a nurse. It was obvious that woman needed medical attention immediately. If she would have rolled in on a ambulance, on a gurney, y'all wouldn't have done that. Y'all don't do it for people unconscious. Y'all don't do it for people who needs a doctor rolling in on an ambulance. So why are we doing it to this woman? There's a reason why people are filming this hospital. Yeah. Shame on y'all.
What exactly did you catch when you were watching that viral video of a woman 12 minutes out from giving birth dealing with this redheaded nurse? Did it remind you of your mother-in-law? Did it remind you about being a fancy black person, maybe shopping for something, having an accent in the wrong place? Do you think you can spot when someone checks their social status against yours? Let's process it and the feeling of powerlessness and anger that you had watching that video together. So the now infamous Dallas Regional Medical Center, a young black woman has come in because she is about to give birth. She's actively in labor. The nurse knows this. The universal medical standard of care is that this woman would have been rushed to labor and delivery where she could be monitored. Whatever extra details that they needed to get could have been taken from the person who was accompanying her along the way. And this mother in particular had apparently already sent her information ahead. She had established care at this hospital. Here she is, wailing in pain, going nowhere as the nurse stalls. There was zero sense of urgency, and there was absolutely no patient assurance. The nurse keeps mother and baby in the intake room. Now, we could say nurses are used to pain. They've seen hundreds of births. They're not going to freak out, as one might say. But we're not talking about freaking out here. We're talking about someone who knows that the person in front of them has not lived through hundreds of births and who is in pain and in need of medical attention. The nurse is very aware that this woman is frightened and in pain and is about to do one of the hardest things any human being can ever do. And she shows, literally no exaggeration, you could go watch the video, zero empathy or concern or any reaction to the black lady's pain. And what this medical professional is aware of with every minute that she waits is that she's putting the mother and baby at risk of something being missed. She's keeping this woman from the chance to be monitored. She is slowing down and preventing the process for any pain relief or oversight to get in place. If there's an emergency happening, which she can't know in the intake room because, again, no one is monitoring her, these couple of seconds or minutes can be the difference between life or death for the mother and child. On top of the unnecessary delay, the lack of connection and concern being shown here is absolutely adding to the patient's stress, which is also stressing the baby that's about to be born. That stress on a person's nervous system has a weathering effect that can make them more likely to die. The family has reported back that the baby did have complications during and after the birth. The nurse failed to do her job, and she did it in the grand tradition of nurses using their position of power to status check people. This is one more link in the long chain of maternal health crises for Black and Indigenous women in America, not because of their class, not because of other comorbidities, not because of issues they've had with childbirth before, but because of medical negligence and racism. Lack of response is a form of weaponized negligence that looks at a Black woman and goes, she can take it, she's tough. We could also say we saw here malicious compliance, where somebody uses the cover of the process to delay having to service or care for you. They're policing you or punishing you for daring to even come here and ask for services and resources in the first place. People walk around with this idea of who they are and what their space looks like. And when you come into their space as a Black person or a fancy Black person or somebody who needs them to take care of them, there's a level of thinking that I'm too good to be taking care of this person. I am too good in this situation, this store, this shoe, this bag, whatever it is. It's too good for the people who are asking for these services. So I'm going to make it expensive for them to be here. So they use their jobs to covertly assert dominance. They argue, you can't buy this item at the listed price, you must be wrong. They move slowly and they intentionally do not give you the same customer service that they would give everybody else, or in this case, bedside manner. Well, maybe people are having a bad day or they're bad at their job. Here's how most people operate in a society. They are walking around with an internal story of who they are and who other people are. They also have a social hierarchy in their mind. We humans rely on a lot of visual shorthand to fill in ideas about what we're seeing in front of us or who we're seeing in front of us. Our internal hierarchy, that is developed over time by our culture, the people who raised us, the social circles we're in, or the media we consume. History is not just about events that took place, but the cultural memory that developed around them, the meaning and significance we have given to the things that have happened, and the norms we have normalized. You can thank Harriet Washington and her brilliant team for coming up with a comprehensive medical history of America. It's called Medical Apartheid. It explains how a place like the Dallas Regional Medical Center can hire someone like that and think that they don't have a problem. What we learn is that the entire birth and foundation for medical gynecology in America is through and because of enslaved Black female bodies. So many of the quick advancements in gynecology happened because you didn't need to ask for consent on women that you purchased and enslaved. You don't have to waste money on anesthesia or finding new people to keep testing this on because you can just keep testing on the same people you own. It wasn't just Black women. It was a way to continue to make money off of enslaved people who could no longer be squeezed for profit. So if you had someone who'd been injured because of your abusive work tactics, you could sell them for experimentation. This was normal. This is just like a really cruel, bad chapter in a tiny section of American medical history. No, it was its foundation. And it wasn't 4 years before the Civil War and just a couple years after. It was multiple generations. To this day, there are people and families that are bearing the scars of recent decades of medical experimentation and unethical access to Black bodies. People that were tricked. White bodies and white mothers were considered and classed as people who felt more pain and were much more delicate. To this day, there are young medical students right now running around with myths and assumptions and biases about Black skin thickness and pain reception. There are a lot of assumptions about what makes a Black person sick. And then we're also dealing with a situation where it's considered bad or woke to look at the interlocking factors that could affect why someone is in the situation that they're in, like ecological racism or pollution. The wider American culture at the time excused and hid this, and currently continues to excuse and hide this. Why do you think certain things are getting defunded? This is why, with the same money, same healthcare, same hospital, a Black woman could walk into the same situation as a white woman and be 3 times more likely to die giving birth. It's not about genetics, it's about negligence. This slow-moving, dismissive care is procedural violence. Additionally, because enslavement was the economic power engine that could make the American economy the superpower it was, it depended on producing more enslaved people, which meant taking away, and never giving, I should say, reproductive freedom to Black women. To keep it profitable and to keep it cheap, you weren't necessarily worried about the maternal health conditions. You weren't necessarily looking over all of the labor and delivery. This is a huge part of why bodily autonomy is not the state's default position towards women or Black women. It's simply not profitable. So you have this huge group of people that's stewing in old ideas and new recycled ones about how it's Black and brown people who are lazy and taking their resources. It's immigrants who are the reason why there's a housing crisis. There's an infestation of certain kinds of people. Do you think that when those women walk in to give birth, that people are going to necessarily treat them with respect and dignity? Tough and aggressive people who have too many kids, they're not going to get top care. Racism, long after it's used to be a social technology that produces a certain caste system, it becomes an internal form of narcissism, a way to stroke your ego. This white nurse was not going to be seen rushing to take care of a black lady. Did that black baby matter with the way she was acting? No. Did that lady's pain matter? Also no. She used, as many people have, her standing to check the other person. It was cruel, it was deliberate, and it was calculated. We tend to think that racist action, sexist action, people who are not welcoming you into their family, that they will announce it, that they will put on a hood, that they will say, I am saying a racist or mean thing, or you are less than me. We tend to think that unless they fully admit right there that I am doing this because I'm racist, that maybe it isn't. But it's not politically or socially expedient to telegraph status in a way that you could get caught. Because the point of this kind of behavior is not to be heard saying it. It is to get a certain outcome, to make you feel a certain way. How do we push back? We articulate what is happening to us. Because like James Baldwin said, once we articulate the situation, we're no longer the victim. We're a threat to that system. We support each other with doulas, birth funds, and looking for ways to fund community scholarships. We do what this grandmother did, which is film and share the story. Nurses at the Dallas Regional Medical Center and beyond might continue to see Black women as pests and problems. We know, like Lucy, Betsy, and Anakra, who are memorialized here, that Black women's bodies were the sites of so many solutions. This profession owes so much to the unimaginable horror and pain that those women endured. People who are watching their research be rolled back, people who have lost their mothers and their wives and their sisters and just human beings to this crisis know that there's no real moving on from this. But there is moving forward with an awareness of what came before us. What increased digital power we now have to call this out and hold people accountable. The ways we can come together to spot and articulate this behavior in all the different ways it occurs and call it what it is. To the Dallas Regional Medical Center, you have a nurse that is too dangerous to be around Black women. To the rest of us, get Harriet Washington's book and don't be afraid to stay woke. It could literally save your life.
I don't see this getting enough attention, so we're gonna go ahead and just get straight to the point. This is Nurse LaCrista Vaughn. LaCrista works at Dallas Regional Medical Center in Mesquite, Texas, and the other day she had a woman in the triage room and she had no type of sense of urgency whatsoever. Mind you, this patient was clearly in pain, and you can even hear in her tone of voice that she just did not care whatsoever. I'm gonna insert a snippet of the video that I saw so you guys can take a look.
When's your due date? Right now. Is your due date? 11. What? How many times have you been pregnant?
Now, as y'all saw from the clip, she showed no type of empathy and no type of sense of urgency whatsoever. In fact, the way she was even asking the questions, she sounded more annoyed than anything. When is your due date? How many times have you been pregnant? Like, she sounded like this was something that just annoyed the crap out of her. And when you go through her social media posts, which is all public, by the way, she constantly makes jokes like this right here. And then to top it all off, the hospital itself has horrible reviews. So you would think that with those horrible reviews, they would be on the employees to try and turn their brand around. But instead, you have comments being left like these right here. And the craziest part about this is that before anyone assumes that, okay, these are just spam comments after this event took place, it's not. A lot of these comments are from 5 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 11 months ago. And what's really bad is the fact that she's even been mentioned in a lot of those reviews, and somehow she's still employed there. LaCrista, if you see this, I just think that it is disgusting how you can post stuff like this and yet you don't own up to it. You're not a good person.
I'm watching this clip of a Black mother, and I will show you this, in active labor at Dallas Regional Medical Hospital in Mesquite, Texas, and my stomach is in knots. She is screaming, she can't sit, she's doubled over in pain. Anyone with eyes can see she is in active labor, and instead of being taken straight to labor and delivery, she is stuck in that waiting room for over 30 minutes while someone registers her like she's checking in for a dental appointment. So here's the clip.
When's your due date? Right now. Is your due date? 11. What? How many times have you been pregnant? 3. This is your 3rd pregnancy? Yes. You have 2 babies at home? It's in my ass. You have 2 babies at home? Who's your doctor?
Lang is her doctor. Y'all treat all your patients like this or just the black ones?
Last name is Jones. She's G3P2. I'm not sure when her due date is.
Her due date is the 10th.
Her due date's the 10th.
She got 3 pregnancies, 2 babies at home. I bet y'all listen next time. When you found out you was delivering at this hospital, your ass should have changed doctors. Everybody say how they treat people here.
And the healthcare professional sitting right there doesn't acknowledge her pain at all. No urgency, no assistance, no call to labor and delivery, nothing. 12 minutes later, she delivered her baby. 12 minutes. So that tells you everything and exactly how close she was when she was left out there in agony. People love to pretend medical racism is some historical artifact, but this is exactly what it looks like today. This is how Black mothers die. Our pain is dismissed, our symptoms are minimized, care is delayed until it's almost too late, and then everyone acts shocked at the maternal mortality statistics. There is absolutely no universe where this is acceptable patient care. Active labor at that stage is an emergency. She should have been immediately transferred to labor and delivery, full stop. And if this is how she was treated before delivery, imagine how she may have been treated postpartum. And that is truly what scares me. I hope that this young lady and her baby are safe, but this cannot keep happening. Black mothers deserve better, and the system knows it. It is long past time to root this out entirely.
My father lost his mother at 16 years old due to medical malpractice while she was pregnant with a set of twins. She walked into a hospital and never returned home to her children. When I saw the video of this white nurse ignoring the pain of this woman that is clearly in labor, in active labor, I was absolutely disgusted. Not only was that sister's information already in the system because she was due to be induced that day, but this nurse, who people have identified as LaCrista Vaughn, nonchalantly handled this woman during this emergency, to which she literally delivered her son 12 minutes after. And for those who say that this is not about race, it is always about race, especially when it comes to Black people and especially when it comes to Black women in the medical system. The maternal mortality for Black women is 10 times higher than any other demographic in the United States of America. There are still racial biases that assumes that Black people can handle a higher threshold of pain to where we are not tended to, nor giving the proper care or medication to mitigate that pain. This book by Harriet A. Washington called Medical Apartheid literally details the history of medical experimentation on Black Americans in the United States. And also talk about how a lot of gynecological practices and advancements were as a result of testing Black women's bodies without medication or anesthesia. For me, it is not enough that LaCrista Vaughn loses her job. But white folks, it is time for y'all to stand up and stand within the gaps, because Black folks have been yelling into the void. It is evident that our screams, our cries, our hurt goes unheard. Y'all have the opportunity to actually advocate and stand up against things that are blatantly wrong and racist. Do something.
I don't know who this woman is, but she does not need to be working in nobody's hospital, clinic, or nothing dealing with health. Watch how she treats a woman who is in active labor.
What? How many times have you been pregnant? 3! This is your 3rd pregnancy? Yes! You have 2 babies at home?
This is active labor.
You have 2 babies at home?
And she's sitting there asking her question.
Who's your doctor?
Lang is her doctor.
Not putting her in a bed. She won't even look at her. How is this not medical malpractice? Apparently, this has happened at Dallas Regional Medical Center because the mother is giving updates. And I just don't understand why everybody is just acting so callous at the hospital. That's crazy. And I've interviewed so many people. I'm a black woman myself, and the mortality rate for black women when they have babies is way higher than any other demographic because you don't listen to black women when they tell you they are in pain. The woman was yelling. She said she was in pain, yet that woman just sat there and asked her all these questions that could have been answered later. Whether she had insurance or not at that hospital, they were supposed to help her immediately. She was in immediate pain. Now, I'm no medical professional, so y'all explain to me, how is this not medical malpractice? And she said because of the stress on the mother and the baby during delivery, that the baby had a bowel movement before she had the baby, so there was green in the amniotic fluid. So the baby may have an infection and they got to go get that checked. Now, whose problem is that? Should that have even happened? Let me know. Is that medical malpractice? Am I missing something? Fuck! When's your due date?
Whatever you're doing right now, I need you to stop and watch this video.
Fuck! When's your due date?
Right now! So you don't have to be an OBGYN. You don't have to have any medical knowledge to know that this woman is in distress.
Is your due date 11?
For those primal screams, not to invoke an ounce of humanity. Think about that.
What? How many times have you been pregnant?
Seriously, who gives a fuck? A baby's coming.
3! This is your 3rd pregnancy?
Yes!
You have 2 babies
It's
at
in
home?
my ass!
3rd baby, it's in my ass, means she's gonna have a baby on the floor unless she gets that woman to a room now.
You have 2 babies at home? Who's your doctor?
Lang is her doctor.
Let's talk about this Dallas video because it's not just bad behavior, it's dangerous, it's discriminatory, and it's why black women in this country keep dying. The young woman's in active labor, and clinically we all know that priorities shift. Intake stops, and your eyes should be on that mom and the baby. But instead, we're watching a nurse sit there asking frivolous questions while a black woman is clearly in distress, progressing, and not treated with the urgency and dignity that she deserves. It's not just rude, it's dangerous. It's egregious, and it's actually disgusting medical care. And I need y'all to understand something, that as a black OBGYN, this is not an isolated incident. This is a culture. And this is what happens when a healthcare system that is not designed for anyone outside the majority, this is how it affects and shapes the legacy and how black women are treated in real time. This is our maternal mortality numbers. This is how black women end up ignored, undiagnosed, untreated, and unprotected. It's a bias, it's systematic, and it's behavior like this that gets passed down, normalized, excused. This is a culture problem in Dallas, Texas probably as a whole. And a culture doesn't change with a press release. It changes with accountability, retraining, leadership, consequences, and a refusal to let people like this touch patients. So, in closing, black women deserve urgency, compassion, and clinical excellence. This ain't it. What we saw was unacceptable, and it's time that the healthcare system finally stops pretending that this doesn't happen. You need to do better.
When's your due date?
Right now!
Is your due date 11? What? How many times have you been pregnant?
3!
This is your 3rd pregnancy?
Yes!
You have 2 babies
It's
at
in
home?
my ass!
You have 2 babies at home? Who's your doctor?
Lang is her doctor. Y'all treat all your patients like this or just the black ones?
Beverly, this is the personality patient for you. Last name is Jones. She's G3P2. I'm not sure when her due date is.
Her due date
You
is the
said it
10th.
was the 10th.
This woman is in active labor, screaming for help, and the hospital staff is asking her paperwork questions instead of saving her and her baby. And her mother asked the question that Black families know all too well. Y'all treat all patients like this or just the Black ones? This isn't an isolated moment. This is America's maternal health crisis caught on camera. This video from a Mesquite, Texas hospital has exploded online. Over 26 million views because people can feel the neglect. That nurse's coldness, that delay in emergency care, that's not just bad bedside manner. It's a pattern, a deadly one. And Black women have been screaming about it long before this went viral. Let me show you what the headlines don't. The numbers behind this moment. In 2023, Black women made up 50.3 deaths per 100,000. Doesn't sound like a lot, huh? White women, 14.5. Hispanic, 12.4. Asian, 10.7. The gap is getting wider, not smaller. And it's not just about money or education. Black women, regardless of status, face more barriers and higher risk. Black mothers aren't dying because they're unhealthy. They're dying because they're unheard, dismissed, and left waiting. Doctors have been taught harmful myths, like Black skin is thicker or Black patients feel less pain. When you believe someone doesn't feel pain, you don't treat their emergency like an emergency. That's why over 70% of Black women under 50 report being dismissed or ignored during medical visits. Not by accident, by design. Every mother deserves urgent, compassionate care. Not a questionnaire, not a wait, not a debate. If this video made you angry, good. Now let it move you. Black mothers deserve better. Black babies deserve better. And this conversation can't die just because the algorithm moved on.
Because Dallas Regional Medical Center. I hope y'all got enough room out front to add Kiara Jones' name. Huh? Because Dallas Regional Medical Center, I hope y'all got enough room out front to add Kiara Jones' name. Huh? Dallas Regional Medical Center, y'all should be ashamed. There was a Black woman that went there, and she was giving birth to her third child. Her mom was with her. From the time they pulled up to the front of this hospital, they was giving them grief. Now, as they was giving them grief, they didn't want to help them out of a truck. They didn't even want to assist her with a wheelchair. It was so bad to the point, in fact, of the matter, the cop in front had to help her before the nurses did. Now, you would think after she got inside the building, knowing how much pain she was in and how close the contractions was, oh, the hospital would just help out. Because that's at least the bare minimum at a hospital, right? Guess what they do? They say, oh no, baby girl, you got to fill out all of this paperwork. Now she's trying to fill this paperwork out all by telling them literally, this baby is at the bottom of my ass. Pause. These nurses sitting there acting calm as if this woman is not going through contractions and all of this, sitting there right in front of her. Her mama started getting pissed off, and this one I knew was about to go somewhere. Her mama said, when you seen this hospital name on your paperwork, you should have changed it then and there. Because mama was ready to come up out of her sweater. Huh? Sidebar. This situation was so bad that after they got her to the back, she only lasted 12 minutes before she gave birth. Huh? So that means she should have been sitting up somewhere. Now, y'all wonder why we want Luigi Mangiani to get off? Perfect example. Dallas Regional Medical Center, by the time she get through with y'all, I can't wait to take a picture of the Kiara Jones Medical Center. Yes. I'm just here to bring y'all the news. We waiting for the update. Because all these OBGYNs updating, we want to hear from y'all. Are y'all going to apologize? Thank you, TikTok, for bringing this to my attention. I'm just a messenger.
First, I want to say thank you, Jesus, for not making what they plan to come to pass. That is the first thing I want to say. Because it is not easy that a woman went into all of that pains and mother is alive and the child is alive. God be praised. Secondly, I want to say, give me another name to use for this wicked Karen. Give me another words to use for her. Because it is bad enough that you are a woman, not even a man. If it is a man, we can even say, okay, he doesn't have sympathy because he has never gone through that level. But you are a woman. Probably you might have gone through this stage of delivery, or you have not. But you have literally been seeing people because you are a nurse. going through this stage and you know that it is not easy. And according to some of the video that I saw, she gave birth like, is it 7 minutes after that video that her mom actually posted there. You saw this woman going through agony, but you choose to abandon her. But God that never shamed black people did not shame her. The God that is always coming through for black people did not. Black folks, please, you don't need another person to explain to you what these people are doing. Honestly, if it's possible that they can actually have like black people's hospitals for delivery, I think it will even be better. Because another woman came to say in her video that it is just what they do when it comes to people that look like us. That woman cannot literally sit down there if the person that was actually in pains is her fellow white folks. She was literally doing that because there are people that look like us, not even minding, giving her nonchalant attitude, asking questions over and over again, asking a woman question. You can imagine the story that the mother said, because I attached it on the second clip, where the mom literally said that this woman did not even give them the, what they call it, the wheelchair. She have to point it, oh, go get it. Then the mom went there and she said, I can't find it. She just brought it. Oh, this is it. Oh, are you not following me outside? No. Like, is that the save a life that you people have sworn to be saving life? To just keep making people pass through pains and then probably just, I don't understand. It's not making sense, honestly. I saw this video, my heart really was bothered. But let me know what you guys think. Credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, like this video, drop me your comments. And lastly, do not forget to share, guys. With that being said, with no further ado, like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye, guys. I love you guys. Black folks, please, just be careful. Please. Know the environment that you are not wanted.